Ay, Pokedoku, we all grew up with you for the last 6 months, taking inspiration from the grid type of minigames, such as the Immaculate Grid for all of the sports. Pokedoku has, in a short span of time, turned into one of the most popular minigames that you can play on the internet, regularly having over 100,000 players daily. And it's no wonder that has become so popular. With a really simple concept, you can test your skills and your knowledge of the Pokemon world. And Doku Games, the creators of Pokedoku, had managed to put the exact amount and type of question that you need to make a good Pokemon grid. Difficult enough to be challenging for even Pokemon experts, but not too difficult so the casual fans still get a good ride. And as every other grid, this one has a pointy system to see how good you did it, in which case, this one is called the uniqueness rank. And as someone who considers that I'm really good at Pokedoku, I wanted to give a couple tips as to how to master Pokedoku. A couple of different tricks that will allow you to both improve your streaks and have better scores. And as someone who just reached 100 consecutive days of playing Pokedoku, I think that I can talk a little bit about it. If you want more shorter videos talking about Pokemon, leave a comment so I know it. And if you like the content, you can leave a like and subscribe. I'm gonna be here for you. Now, let's go with tip number 1. Don't use the first Pokemon that comes to your mind. It must be a really obvious one to start things off, but that's usually how it works. If something is the first thing that you can imagine, for example, with a fire flying, if the first thing that you think about is a Charizard, like most people, it's probably not a good idea to take it. Why? Because most people that is unable to remember other is gonna throw Charizard just to have something. So never throw the first option that you think about. Think a little further, a little bit deeper, and you'll find a better option. Trick number 2. Try to not get the fully evolved Pokemons. For the most part, most people are able to easily remember the final stage of the Pokemon, or at some times easier to remember the first stage. But a lot of people doesn't remember the middle stages, and in Pokemon that only have 2 stages, a lot of times they don't remember either the later one or the previous one. So there's a lot of discrepancy in the scores. Sometimes the final evolutions turn out to be weirder than the middle and early stages, but that is because of the cycles of the game, which is something I'm gonna talk about later. But basically, you just need to switch every once in a while some of your answers. Tip number 3. After you finish the daily Pokedoku, go and look at the rarest guesses. I know that this is something that might not be of the appeal of everyone. You just want to make it as pure as possible. But hear me out. When you look at the weirder ones after you already did it, it's not like you're cheating. You're just trying to see what was able to be there and thinking, oh yeah, I knew this Pokemon, why I didn't put it? But that also gives you an advantage for future days. If someone, for example, has Rapska as the weirdest bug type, it might as well be the weirdest psychic type in a future day, so you can use it. As I'm saying, that is a little bit more of a trick if you want to actually be a real tryhard, but even if you don't, it's still something that you can do every once in a while, just to see what was behind the scenes, and which Pokemons you could have guessed and become better. Tip number 4. The younger, the better. No, no, not in that way, okay? No, Jeffrey, no. Everybody knows all of the Pokemons in the first generation. Most people know the Pokemons of the second generation. A lot of people know the Pokemons of third generation. Fourth generation starts to be a little bit smaller in the amount of people that knows it. Are you following the pattern? The more recent a generation is, the more likely it is that a Pokemon is not gonna be as well known. If I ask you to guess a flying Pokemon, it's most likely than not that you're gonna start thinking from the Gen 1, like Pidgey, Pidgeotto, and all of that, the legendary birds, go to Gen 2 with something like Hoot Hoot, or Ho-Oh, or Lugia, and so on and so forth. While the later generations with Pokemons like Corvisquire or Flamigo are gonna usually become weirder and weirder. That is because it's less likely that someone has played the most recent generation than he has played any of the previous ones where all of the Pokemons were available. And even if they did play it, it's more likely that they're gonna misremember or they are gonna forget some of the Pokemons of the most recent gens than the other games that they are more likely to be more attached to. Tip number pi. I already lost the count. If it changes typing, it's good. I already talked about how an earlier stage of a Pokemon can have better uniqueness scores. But this especially magnifies when you take into consideration Pokemons that change typing when they evolve. Pokemons like Skrelp with Dragalge or Nincada with both of its evolutions could get you decent scores in any of their respective typings because of the change in typing that every single one of them follows. Tip number 6. Secondary is elementary. By far, the best tip to score really good in any given Pokedoku is thinking about secondary forms. Most people will remember the base form, but they're gonna get scared if they put an alternative form, because a lot of them change, but others don't. And these secondary forms go for everything, from things such as megas, regional forms, and any type of Pokemon that changes its typing based on something specific are really great. I cannot express how many different times a secondary form of Castform or Rotom saved my daily. They are just flawless. So, if you have a question where that is a possibility, try as much as you can to find something and a secondary form that can fit that. And last tip, a little bit of a bonus one. It follows already something that I said previously, but it adds a little extra. And that is the newest group of legendaries. With the questions related with legendaries, most of the time, the best option is one of the most recent groups. Best score for a poison legendary, one of the loyal tree. Best score for a grass legendary, one of the variants of Ogerpon. Best score for a steel legendary, Sasha and Samacenta both usually make the deal. Both of those with a little extra due to the fact that they're extra variant forms, once again, the variants, are consistently among the best scores in almost everything that they can be put on. But my absolute favorite, and something that if you have seen any of my Pokedokus is like that you have seen, is the horses, in all of the Calyrex forms. If there's any legendary where either Calyrex of one of the variants with a horse can fit in, that is always guaranteed to be the best option. Never fails. It has never failed me, and probably will never fail you. And well, as I said, this is a little bit of a shorter video. It's not gonna be as heavily edited as others, but it's for the 100 video special of the Pokedokus, so yeah. If you want to keep having content like this of shorter stuff, just as I said, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna see you next time. Bye bye!